Hello and welcome to my presentation on the history and advancement of nuclear energy. So, something that is kind of forgotten is that Albert Einstein's theory that classic E equals mc squared is actually the basis of all nuclear energy. While it's a little bit past the scope of my presentation, the simple way of thinking of this is that there is a connection between energy and matter. In 1938, almost 40 years later, Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann discover nuclear fission. The way that they came about this was by shooting neutrons at uranium. And they figure that by destroying one uranium atom could create a ton of energy. Once this happened, sadly, the capability and the the progress was going to go straight towards war, and that was what Einstein and several other scientists proposed to the government, was that ultimately either the U.S. or a different, possibly hostile nation, such as Germany, was going to come up with a nuclear bomb. And that's why in 1942, the start of the Manhattan Project, the first controlled nuclear chain reaction happened. And then, if you watch the movie like Oppenheimer, you'd know about what happened next with towns coming up and bombs being dropped in the desert, and then ultimately on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The point that I wanted to talk about in this presentation, though, is about power plants. Russia, or known as the Soviet Union at the time, created the world's first commercial nuclear power plant, Obninsk, about 4 years before America created their first nuclear power plant in Pennsylvania. Throughout the 60s and 70s, during the Cold War era, um, the U.S. built many more plants throughout the nation, and Europe also sprung up a lot more of these plants. Now, when people think of nuclear power, they probably think of the failures of nuclear power made famous by blockbuster Netflix series like Chernobyl. 3 Mile Island, however, was the first one meltdown to occur in America, and it scared the population for sure. While there's probably hundreds of cases of cancer linked to that. Chernobyl, on the other hand, we're talking about an entire region being displaced and still not allowed to go too close to this area without protective equipment. Fukushima was the most recent one that happened, and really the effects of that are going to go. We still don't even know what the end result of some of that has been, and I believe that people still haven't moved back into that area. So moving forward, how can nuclear energy be more innovative and less dangerous? The first advancement in this nuclear technology are these small modular reactors. The way to think of this is that you have smaller reactors, and by having many smaller ones instead of one big giant one, you can recognize problems quicker, and you can replace problematic reactors instead of having to shut down entire things, or have to use the ocean, like how Fukushima plant is to cool down. The other thing is what they call thorium reactors. All of the reactors, or pretty much every reactor we uses uranium. This different element, thorium, would be potentially safer and cause less waste than what uranium does. Ultimately, uh, nuclear power is still responsible for about 14% of all worldwide power, and it is something that we should continue to use because of the fact that it does not produce greenhouse gases and can supply a lot of power for a world that is hungry for it. These are my works cited. Thank you.